They thought they could clog the lane and suffocate the offense. They thought they could force her into deep, uncomfortable territory and just watch the clock run down. But what the Minnesota Lynx defense didn't realize is that they were actually opening the door for a historic demolition. When Olivia Miles stepped onto the hardwood for the Golden State Valkyries, nobody in the arena expected a career-defining masterclass. But within the first few possessions, it became blindingly obvious that the scouting report was completely useless. And the wildest part? This goes way deeper than just a single player having a hot shooting night. We are witnessing a fundamental shift in how this matchup is played, and the strategic ripple effects are sending shockwaves through the entire league. While everyone was watching the established stars, a new narrative was being written in real time. This wasn't just a regular season battle. It was a high-stakes Commissioner's Cup showdown, where every single possession felt like a playoff elimination game. To understand how we got here, you have to look at the opening minutes of this fierce battle. The Minnesota Lynx came out with an aggressive defensive scheme, deliberately packing the paint to deny any penetration. They wanted to turn Golden State into a perimeter-reliant squad, betting that the pressure would rattle the Valkyries' rhythm. Kayla Thornton set an early tone by hitting 5 of 10 from beyond the arc, proving that Minnesota was ready to trade blows from a distance. But that defensive gamble by the Lynx quickly turned into a catastrophic miscalculation. Remember this detail because it becomes absolutely crucial later in the match. Minnesota plays at the slowest pace in the entire league, averaging just 77 possessions per game. They want to grind you down, control the tempo, and force you into half-court execution errors. But Golden State refused to play their game, instead relying on the rapid-fire distribution of Veronica Burton and the relentless paint presence of Natasha Howard, who currently stands as the second leading offensive rebounding player in the league. But that's just the surface of what's happening here. The real story began when Olivia Miles decided to completely dismantle the perimeter defense. Every single time Minnesota dropped back to protect the rim, Miles made them pay with absolute precision. She knocked down her first 2 triples without blinking, forcing Lynx head coach Cheryl Reeve to frantically reevaluate her defensive coverage on the sideline. But you can't coach against pure, unadulterated confidence, and Miles was just getting warmed up. By the time the second quarter rolled around, the game had transformed into a tactical chess match. Courtney Williams was keeping Minnesota afloat with her lethal mid-range jumper, pulling up just inside the restricted area and lifting it off the glass. Williams was practically carrying the scoring load, accounting for nearly half of her team's points during a crucial stretch. But while the Lynx were relying on tough contested two-pointers, Golden State was playing modern analytics basketball, stretching the floor and maximizing every single opportunity. And this is where the story takes a turn nobody expected. Olivia Miles didn't just stay hot, she went 4 for 4 from downtown before the halftime buzzer even sounded. The defense was giving her the three-point shot, practically daring her to beat them from deep, and she took exactly what they gave her. It didn't matter if it was a transition pull-up or a spot-up look off a cross-court pass from Gabby Williams, the result was exactly the same, pure net. Now here's the part that should make you angry if you appreciate traditional defensive discipline. The Lynx simply refused to adapt their scouting report in real time. They watched Miles single-handedly triple the offensive energy of the Valkyries, yet they continued to under-rotate on the perimeter. Even when Alana Smith and Kayla Thornton tried to bring physical pressure, Golden State countered by utilizing Kamaya Smalls and Kayla McBride to keep the ball swinging to the open shooter. The momentum was shifting so fast you could feel the anxiety building in the arena. Minnesota was fighting for every single bucket, with Tiffany Hayes cascading down the lane, absorbing heavy contact and banging the ball off the glass just to keep the game within reach. Hayes was doing a fantastic job of breaking down the defense and refusing to settle for low-percentage looks. But every time the Lynx manufactured a hard-earned bucket, Golden State had an immediate, devastating answer waiting for them on the other end. And this is where it gets personal on the court. You could see the frustration boiling over on the Minnesota bench. Coach Cheryl Reeve called a frantic timeout after a defensive lapse, allowed Veronica Burton to secure a transition layup off a brilliant feed from Gabby Williams. Reeve is a coach who demands absolute connection from everyone on her roster, from player 1 through 12, ensuring that everyone feels grounded in their assignments. But when your defensive game plan gets shredded by a career-high performance, execution completely breaks down. Think about the sheer pressure of this moment for a second. This wasn't just about winning a standard basketball game. It was about capturing a crucial second Commissioner's Cup victory. The financial implications and the tournament standings were hanging in the balance. When the stakes are that high, stars are supposed to step up. But it was the depth and the unheralded execution of the Valkyries that completely stole the spotlight. Let's look at how the statistics back this up. Olivia Miles didn't just break her previous marks, she shattered them, exploding for a brand new career high of 25 points while maintaining an absurd shooting percentage from beyond the arc. When a player hits 6 triples in a single game against an elite defensive unit, it forces you to completely rewrite how you view their ceiling in this league. She looked like she could hit from miles away, operating with a level of calm that completely belied her experience. Because here's what this all means going forward. The league is changing, and the teams that refuse to play with pace and perimeter versatility are going to get left behind. We saw glimpses of this earlier in the season when Portland tried to run a similar defensive scheme and got completely overwhelmed. Golden State is proving that they have the personnel to punish any team that decides to pack the paint and disrespect their outside shooters. Imagine being in that Minnesota locker room right now, looking at the tape and realizing that you let a single player dictate the entire terms of engagement. They wanted a slow, methodical grind, but they got sucked into a high-scoring perimeter shootout that they simply didn't have the firepower to match. Even with Courtney Williams hitting clutch baseline jumpers and keeping it a 4-point game in the final minutes, the mathematical disadvantage of trading twos for threes eventually caught up with them. Look at the final sequence, where the tension reached a fever pitch. With only 6 seconds remaining on the shot clock, the ball was in the hands of the playmakers. The crowd was waiting to explode, desperate for the Lynx to generate one final defensive stop to ignite a comeback. But Golden State stayed composed, executed their half-court set, and put the finishing touches on a definitive statement victory. This game exposed a massive truth about the current state of the league. You cannot survive on reputation and old scouting reports anymore. The Valkyries didn't just win a game. They sent a clear message to every coaching staff in the country that they have multiple weapons capable of taking over a game at any given moment. So you have to ask yourself, are the Golden State Valkyries legitimate championship contenders? Or did Minnesota simply hand them this victory through stubborn coaching and a failed defensive game plan? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, hit that subscribe button, and let me know if you think anyone can stop this offense when they are clicking like this.